I'm Brigham. I'm the product design director at Outdoor Vitals and primarily responsible for creating, developing the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece. The beginnings of this piece were really generated by seeing a gap in our own lineup, in that we didn't really have a piece that we could be really physically intensely active in, kind of in inclement weather, harsh conditions, something that we could just put on and leave it on all day. There's a couple kind of key factors that we really have to pay attention to. Breathability and or wind resistance. They kind of work against each other. As wind resistance goes up, it makes the piece warmer, but as breathability goes up, it makes it less warm. And either one of those, if you lean too hard one direction, it starts to limit the usability of that piece. We didn't want to just lean hard into, something that's overly breathable or overly wind resistant. We don't just backpack and spend time in the mountains when it's nice. We're out there every month of the year. Once you get outside of those very forgiving summer conditions, that's when these clothing choices are a little bit more critical, like a little more important. A lot of experiences I've had where I'm covering a lot of miles, oftentimes not on a trail and oftentimes in cold conditions, finding a piece that I could just put on and leave on that did keep me just warm enough to be safe, but that just wasn't so warm that I had to take it off and put it on and take it off so many times throughout a day. That really kind of started to channel in what we wanted to do. Kind of comes back to focusing on finding a balance between breathability and wind resistance and warmth. That really just kind of set the project in motion, and really from there, it becomes a matter of finding the right materials and then deciding on what to do with those materials. And for the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece, that kind of means where do you put those materials and how much of those materials do you put on the piece. The materials, in this case fabric, directly affects either breathability, wind resistance, or warmth. So really, it kind of comes down to having a basic design of the actual hoodie. What's the silhouette, the shape, how does it fit? And then just kind of plug and play with different materials and fabrics and insulations, and testing those across multiple conditions, and then seeing if we need to make a change. It's a long process because we never want to just use something once and take that experience and let that drive a design decision that's going to result in a production of thousands of pieces, right? So it takes a lot of time because you got to spend multiple days in the field, just really kind of doing due diligence and verifying, if what we saw the first time or the second time is consistent, so that we can make a decision on what to do moving forward. That went on for a couple years with the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece. I really think it was probably more than a dozen sample iterations of some kind of variation, whether that was a different fabric weight, a fabric with a higher or lower wind resistance, a fabric with more or less breathability, and variations on where that fabric was placed, how much of that fabric was used. Since this process started and going through it, it was really energizing because it's a very positive feeling knowing that we're really doing due diligence and being very careful about these decisions, and that is something that I get excited about. I know that I can recommend this piece and feel good about getting it out there to the customers, the buyers that are going to get out there and use it, because I've spent so much time testing it. And then I've also passed that on to other people that have spent a lot of time testing it as well. We really felt like we had kind of looked under every rock and found the balance of what we were looking for. The cool part about all of this is that just because we've now released the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece, it's never ending. This process doesn't stop. So we will continue to just spend time in the field, spend time in the mountains, and get out there and have an awareness to look for opportunities to improve, to find more gaps, to find more needs, find, just learn. We're releasing the Pursuit Hybrid Fleece, but it's just a product that's released, and we're going to continue to learn, to find ways to improve. Yeah, it's just kind of an ongoing process.